So our next Croptober recipe that we're doing is chicken pot pie in our slow cooker. So I usually prefer a pie crust for my chicken pot pie. However, we're going to do more of a biscuit style crust today. So we're going to go ahead and get it started. It is a 2-step slow cooker recipe, so it's not fully dump and go. For our first step, we're going to add in 2 12-ounce bags of mixed vegetables. We want about 3 cups worth, and this would give me a little bit more, but I'm okay with that. This one has carrots, corn, green beans, and peas. My main goals are usually just carrots and peas. Anything added to that is a bonus for us. You need 2 cream of something soups. Today I'm using cream of celery and golden mushroom. I'm trying to pack in as much flavor as possible with the fewest ingredients. You could also use cream of chicken. Again, I'm just trying to add in tons of variety of flavor. Next up, I'm adding 1.5 pounds of diced chicken thighs. You can use chicken breast if you want. For seasoning, I'm starting with 1 tablespoon of seasoned salt and 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Now, thyme is usually my go-to pot pie seasoning. I feel like it makes a pot pie taste like a pot pie. However, I know more people are likely to have Italian seasoning in their cabinets than just regular thyme, so that's why I'm switching it out for today. Just going to mix this all around. Now that I feel like this is pretty well mixed, we have our slow cooker set to high. We're going to cook this for about 2 to 3 hours until that chicken is all done, and then we'll come back and do step 2. Alright, so it's been 3 hours and our chicken is fully cooked. Our veggies smell good. Everything smells good. So now we're going to make the crust topping that's going on top of this. Since I do not know how to make a pie crust turn out right in this, we're going to make a biscuit style crust. So today we're using a Red Lobster biscuit mix. And our goal is to use as few ingredients as possible and make it as simple as possible. So we're just taking 1 package of the mix and 1 of the seasoning mixes. And this usually would go in the butter that goes on top of it, but we're putting it straight into our topping. Now 3/4 cup of water, 1/2 teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder, about 1/2 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. I'm just going to mix this together. Now we're just going to dollop this across the top of our mixture. It doesn't have to be perfect. It'll end up touching in some areas, especially depending on the size and shape of your slow cooker. Now that we have our biscuit mix dolloped all the way across, we're just going to lay a towel across the top of our slow cooker and close it. And this way, whenever our lid starts creating condensation, it doesn't drop down on top of our biscuit mix. We're going to let this go for about another 2 hours on high. We'll be ready to eat dinner. Alright y'all, so this has been going for an additional 2.5 hours. We're going to take off our towel, and all the towel did, it's caught in the back. All it did was collect all of that moisture from the top of the lid so that this actually baked through and it didn't get soggy. Now at this point, it's all done. So this is like a little bread topping. And if you don't have this function on your slow cooker, you don't have to do this. You can just scoop and eat. However, if you do have the air fry function on the top of your slow cooker, just take a few little tabs of butter, like maybe 2 tablespoons, and drop down over the top. And we are going to air fry this for just a few minutes to give it a little bit of a crispy texture. It won't make it completely crispy, but give us another layer, another texture change. So we're just going to cut into it and get some big old scoops so that we get everything from the bottom as well as our biscuit topping in each bowl. And that for me is the easiest dump and go chicken pot pie that you can get. Okay y'all, so today we're kind of just making up a recipe and throwing in ingredients that we would normally use in like our spinach and artichoke chicken. However, I'm not going to add artichokes just to give us a little break from it. But as you see, I've got 4 or 5, I don't know. It's about 2 pounds of frozen chicken breast that I'm throwing down in the bottom of our slow cooker. I wanted chicken because we've been eating beef quite a bit. And I have a couple of bags of spinach since they were on sale this week at the grocery store. So I figured we'll just use it for something like this. So I'm adding a block of cream cheese. And typically I see a lot of like Tuscan chicken recipes with spinach and chicken for the crock pot. However, my kids are not the biggest fans of sun-dried tomatoes. They'll eat them, but it's not their favorite thing. So try to avoid the sun-dried tomatoes for a lot. I'm going to add in about a teaspoon, or not teaspoon, about a tablespoon of minced garlic. And all of these measurements are up for change because we're just kind of playing with our food and seeing where it goes. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of Italian seasoning also. I'm going to do about a teaspoon of seasoned salt. You know, I used Lowry's, that's my preference. I do use some others at times if I can't find Lowry's, but that's my go-to seasoned salt. And then I'm just going to pack in the spinach. So I'm using a bag of washed spinach. I'm actually going to squish in 2 full bags and then see if I can get a third in as it cooks down. But all of this will reduce a ton. So total, I think this was 10 cups of spinach. Actually, it's closer to 15 cups of spinach, but it will cook down a lot and it's going to make a lot of food, so I'm okay with that. So I just have my slow cooker on high and I'm going to let this cook on high for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'll come back and see how the spinach has gone down, and then I'll probably switch it to low at that point and just let it keep cooking. Okay, so like I said, at about an hour in, we opened it up and added that 3rd bag of spinach, and you see how it cooked down. So definitely can add in tons of veggies. I did give it a taste test a little while ago, and it is still super bland. So we're going to add in about another, let's see, tablespoon to start with of seasoned salt. And just maybe a teaspoon more of Italian seasoning. I also have about 1.5 cups of shredded mozzarella, so I'm going to pour that down in there. About a teaspoon of garlic powder. And let's give this all a good mix. I did break up some of these big chunks of chicken also. Alright, so we've mixed that around. I'm going to give it another taste test. That is already a ton better. I think we could deal with a little more garlic. So maybe another 1/2 teaspoon. But I'm going to make up some pasta noodles and we'll put this over it and see how it all tastes together. Alright y'all, so we're going to see how this is. We're going to serve it up. I do have some carrots still cooking just so we can have another little veggie to go along with everything. Because, I mean, 3 bags of spinach isn't enough, right? But no, we're used to having extra veggies, so it just seems fitting. So I'm just going to take this and kind of pour it over. And I did not add any other liquid to this. This is just the liquid that was made from the chicken and that block of cream cheese and then the spinach. I've got a super messy plate. So I took out some extra little Parmesan. Thought this might add a nice little salty level as well. And then let's see. So winner, winner, easy dinner. I think it fits. It's definitely, as you can see, very spinachy. But with that cream and that cheese, it works. It fits perfect. So if this is far too much spinach for you, just cut it down to normal human portions of spinach. But if you're like us and we had 3 bags of spinach in the fridge to use up and you don't want spinach and artichoke dip, here you go. Quick, easy meal. Delicious, and like I said, we're adding carrots to it to kind of round it out for us, but even this I think will be perfectly fine on its own. So hopefully this gives you another little crock pot idea that you can use. So today's Croctober recipe is so far out of our normal wheelhouse that we have a backup of leftovers just in case. But it's got pumpkin. We're switching out the carrot for some butternut squash because I have that still in the fridge. It has beans, it has some ground turkey. So trying something very, very different, and we will see how it goes. So we are going to be making a pumpkin and white bean chili. And instead of beef, we're using ground turkey, something a little more subtle to go with the sweet flavors of the pumpkin and the the pumpkin and the butternut squash. So I'm dropping in 1 small onion that I've diced up. I did add in a little bit of olive oil because turkey is very lean. We also have the 1 pound of ground turkey. Thankfully, I like ground turkey. If not, this would already not be off to a good start. That does not look very appetizing. For me, the good thing about turkey is it pretty much lends itself to whatever flavor you choose to add. You do tend to need a lot more seasoning, but it can really soak up those flavors but still add a great level of protein. We're just going to brown this and let it cook. Should take about 10 minutes. Alright, so our turkey is pretty much cooked all the way. So now I'm going to add in about 2 cups of cubed butternut squash. As you can see, I did not use the entire butternut squash for this meal either. So I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder, a cup of water. If you don't have chicken bouillon powder, then you can use chicken broth instead. 1½ teaspoons of dried basil, 1½ teaspoons of paprika, ½ teaspoon of cumin, about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, ½ teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, 1 tablespoon of thyme. You could easily make this on your stovetop in like a little Dutch oven or something. We're just getting all of it prepped and going to let it simmer throughout the day. 1 can of white beans that I've drained, and about ½ can of pumpkin puree. Not the pumpkin pie mix, you're using pumpkin puree. And I'm not worried about having a ½ can of pumpkin puree because we love that in our oatmeal, and even, I know this sounds weird, but in our hot chocolate and coffee, and it will not go to waste. We can even put it in mine and Eleanor's protein shakes. Really get us in the seasonal mood. Alright, y'all, that is it. So I'm just going to close the lid and let this simmer all day long in our slow cooker. Now when we come back this evening, we will add a few splashes of heavy cream and we'll go ahead and taste test it, see if we need to add any more seasoning then. It's smelling good, and it's definitely thick like a chili, so I have high hopes for this. So this is not part of the recipe, however, Eleanor just pulled a few of her greens off of her plants, so we're going to chop this up and mix it in with our soup because I think this will brighten up the color, and it just, to me, it would go perfectly with this kind, not soup, chili, but this kind of chili. So we shall see. Okay, so this one is a tough one for me. I'm adding a little bit extra salt because it just doesn't have any oomph to it. And I think if we had used like an Italian sausage or something, we would have more of that oomph. There's nothing wrong with it. It's completely edible. And for those that like the very muted flavors of something, this might be right up your alley. I'm kind of stumped as to what I would even add to it to make it something miraculous, because it's got a great depth of flavor, and the salt, we definitely needed like a full teaspoon more of salt. But there's just nothing wow about it. There's just nothing that makes me want to come back for it. yeah, there's nothing bad about it. It's just there's nothing great about it either. So we'll serve it up. I might add a little. I know y'all know I love cheese, and my whole family loves cheese. So we might add a little bit of cheese on the side to see if that sharpness of flavor kind of helps do anything for it. But I really don't know what I would add anyway to make this a wow dish. So if you make something like this, let me know, because besides changing up the meat, the protein in it, I don't know what I would do. I mean, maybe even add a little more broth so it's not quite as hearty and it's got a little liquid to it, but so not a complete like loss, but nothing phenomenal, so I wouldn't do this one again.